Welcome back to the channel Rare Coins History, where history, mystery, and money all come together, one coin at a time. Today, we're diving deep into a coin that's been hiding in plain sight for decades. It's small, copper-colored, and probably sitting at the bottom of your change jar right now, the 1981 United States Lincoln cent. Now, before you shrug it off as just another old penny, stay tuned. Because by the time we reach the end of this video, you might find yourself flipping through every cent you've ever saved, especially if you're lucky enough to stumble upon this particular year. There's more to this little coin than meets the eye, and in some rare cases, it could be worth a fortune. Let's rewind to the early 1980s. Ronald Reagan had just taken office, MTV was about to launch, and America was in the midst of cultural and economic change. In the world of coin collecting, something significant was happening too. The U.S. Mint was preparing to say goodbye to the all-copper penny. And 1981? That was one of the very last years it was made from 95% copper. Starting in 1982, the Mint began transitioning to a new composition, copper-plated zinc, because copper prices were rising. So the 1981 penny marks the end of an era. It was the final full year when all Lincoln cents were struck using the traditional copper alloy, giving it a special place in numismatic history. Now, let's talk about the design. On the front of the coin, or the obverse, we find the familiar face of President Abraham Lincoln. His profile has appeared on the penny since 1909, commemorating the 100th anniversary of his birth. This iconic image was created by sculptor Victor David Brenner and has stood the test of time. Above Lincoln's head is the motto, "In God We Trust." To his left, the word "Liberty." And just beside his shoulder? The year 1981. Flip the coin over, and you'll see the reverse design that collectors refer to as the Lincoln Memorial Reverse. This design was first introduced in 1959, on the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. It features the majestic Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., and if you look closely, you can actually see a tiny representation of the Lincoln statue inside. It's a remarkable level of detail for such a small coin. Now here's where things start to get really interesting. Even though over 13 billion Lincoln cents were minted in 1981, not all of them are created equal. There are two major U.S. mint facilities that struck these coins in large quantities, Philadelphia and Denver, and both produced coins with some subtle but important differences. But even more fascinating than where the coins were made is how they were made. In 1981, there were actually two different styles of mint marks and lettering used on proof pennies, the Type 1 and Type 2 varieties. The difference lies in the clarity of the lettering, especially the S mint mark for San Francisco proof coins. The Type 2 S is much sharper and more refined. This tiny detail creates a big impact on the value, especially for proof coins in pristine condition, but it's not just proof coins that are bringing in collectors. Some regular circulation pennies from 1981 are worth way more than 1 cent, if they have mint errors or are found in uncirculated, high-grade condition. Let's talk about those errors. Double die obverse errors, off-center strikes, repunched mint marks, these are the kinds of mistakes that drive coin collectors wild. If a coin was slightly misaligned in the minting press or struck twice with the same die, it could result in a coin that looks strange, off-kilter, or even ghosted. While these flaws might seem small, they are exactly what makes a penny incredibly rare, and highly valuable. Condition also plays a huge role in a coin's worth. Most coins in circulation get scratched, worn down, or discolored. But some are carefully preserved by collectors, or simply forgotten in rolls or sets. A 1981 Lincoln cent in near-perfect condition, especially graded mint state 67 or higher by a professional grading service, can demand serious attention in auctions and coin shows. And now, for the moment that's got everyone buzzing, among these 1981 Lincoln pennies, a few extraordinary examples, thanks to a perfect storm of high-grade condition, rare mint errors, and strong collector demand, have been sold or valued at an incredible $35,000. Yes, you heard that right. A 1-cent coin, worth $35,000. So the next time you're sorting through spare change or opening up that old coin jar, pay extra attention to the pennies. Look for a 1981 date, check for unusual features, and consider getting it appraised if it looks even the slightest bit out of the ordinary. That tiny copper coin could turn out to be a treasure hiding in plain sight. Today's video might just blow your mind that we're talking about a coin that millions of people see every day, but few realize just how valuable it can be. It's not gold, it's not silver, it's a penny. But not just any penny. We're talking about the 1971 Lincoln cent. And what if I told you that one of these copper-colored coins could be worth more than most luxury cars today? Sounds unbelievable. Stick with me. Let's rewind to 1971. The United States was going through some major changes. The Vietnam War was still ongoing, the Apollo space program had just put more men on the moon, and inflation was creeping up. During this time of economic uncertainty, coins continued to quietly circulate through every corner of American life: pay phones, vending machines, lunch counters. And right there in the middle of it all was the trusty Lincoln penny. The 1971 penny features the classic design we've all come to recognize. On the obverse, or the front, you'll find the profile of President Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner way back in 1909. It's the same stoic gaze we've seen for over a century, with the words, "In God We Trust," above his head, liberty to the left, and the year, 1971, to the right. If there's a mint mark, it will be just below the date, either a small D for Denver or no mark at all if it came from the Philadelphia Mint. Flip it over and you're greeted by the Grand Lincoln Memorial, engraved in such intricate detail that if you look closely, you can actually see the tiny seated figure of Lincoln inside the monument. That's a level of artistry not every coin can claim. Now, what most people don't realize is that the 1971 Lincoln cent was made of 95% copper and 5% zinc, a composition that wouldn't last much longer. By the early 1980s, copper became too expensive, and pennies were changed to mostly zinc with a thin copper coating. That makes earlier pennies like the 1971 issue a little more special right off the bat, but here's where things really start to get interesting. You see, not all 1971 pennies are created equal. While over 5 billion were minted across Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, a very small number have something collectors drool over: minting errors. What kind of errors? Well, we're talking about double die obverse, where the details on Lincoln's face, the words, liberty, or the phrase, "In God We Trust," appear slightly doubled. This happens when the die that strikes the coin shifts slightly during the minting process, creating an eerie shadow-like effect. To the untrained eye, it might just look like a blurry coin, but to a seasoned collector, it's a jackpot. There are also off-center strikes, where the image is shifted to one side, die cracks that create raised lines across the surface, or coins struck on the wrong planchet, like one intended for a dime or a foreign coin. These kinds of mistakes are rare, and the rarer they are, the more valuable the coin becomes. Condition is another key factor. A 1971 penny that's been circulating in people's pockets and purses for decades probably isn't worth much. But one that's never been touched, graded as mint state or better by professional grading services, can bring in some serious cash. And let's not forget the proof coins. In 1971, the San Francisco Mint released a limited number of specially struck proof pennies for collectors. These coins have a shiny, mirror-like background and incredibly sharp details. If you find one of these in perfect condition, especially with an error, you might be looking at something truly valuable. You might be wondering, how valuable can a penny really be? Well, that's the reason you're still watching, right? You want the number. So here it is. A rare 1971 Lincoln penny, with a dramatic double die error and preserved in exceptional condition, has been known to reach auction prices as high as $43,000. That's right. A coin that originally cost just 1 cent is now worth $43,000. All it took was a rare mistake and the right set of eyes to recognize it. So go ahead, check your coin jar, dig through those drawers, and look at every 1971 penny just a little bit closer. You never know. The next great discovery could be sitting right under your nose. Today, we're looking at a coin that's over half a century old. It's small, it's simple, and chances are, you've probably seen one and never thought twice. But that 1967 Lincoln penny you overlooked? It might just be the hidden gem in your collection. This isn't just a video about a coin, it's about a moment in American history, a little piece of metal that carries more value than meets the eye. And if you stick around until the end, you'll find out just how much one of these could be worth. Let's just say, it's not small change. Let's start with the basics. The 1967 Lincoln penny belongs to a long-running series that began in 1909, honoring the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Since then, the Lincoln cent has become the most iconic and most widely circulated coin in American history. By 1967, the U.S. Mint was producing billions of coins each year, but that year was unlike any other. The U.S. was deep into the Vietnam War, the civil rights movement was changing the country, and inflation was beginning to shake the economy. People were watching their dollars more closely, and that included their coins. Now, if you look at a 1967 penny, you'll notice something a little odd right away. There's no mint mark. Why? Because in the mid-1960s, the U.S. Mint temporarily removed mint marks from coins. The reason? The Mint was trying to reduce coin collecting due to a national coin shortage. Officials believed that by removing mint marks, they could discourage collectors from hoarding coins based on where they were minted. So whether your 1967 penny came from Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco, it carries no mint mark. It's one of the only years in modern history where this was done, and that alone makes 1967 coins more interesting. The front of the coin, of course, still features Abraham Lincoln, just as it has for more than a century. The design by Victor David Brenner shows Lincoln in profile, facing right, with the motto, "In God We Trust," above him, "Liberty," to the left, and the date, 1967, to the right. On the reverse is the Lincoln Memorial, a design added in 1959 to celebrate Lincoln's 150th birthday. If you look closely, you can even see a tiny statue of Lincoln sitting inside the memorial. That kind of detail in such a small space is just one reason coin collectors are so passionate about this series. But let's get into what you really want to know. What makes this coin valuable? The answer lies in rarity, condition, and something all collectors crave: mint errors. In 1967, more than 3 billion Lincoln pennies were minted. That sounds like a lot, and it is, but not all of them were perfect. During such high-volume production, mistakes happen. And sometimes, those mistakes create coins that are one of a kind. There are a few key errors to look for in a 1967 penny. One of the most famous is the double die, where the design on the coin appears to be stamped twice, creating a slight but noticeable doubling of the letters or numbers. It might show up in the date, in the word "Liberty," or in the motto, "In God We Trust." These aren't printing mistakes, they're minting errors, and they can send a coin's value through the roof. Another rare error is the off-center strike, where the coin was struck incorrectly, leaving a portion of the design missing or misaligned. Some 1967 pennies also have die cracks, small raised lines across the coin caused by breaks in the die that struck it. Even planchet errors, where the coin is made on a blank of the wrong metal or size, can dramatically increase value, but error alone isn't everything. The coin's condition plays a huge role too. A 1967 penny pulled from your pocket today might be scratched, dirty, or worn down from years of use. But if you come across one in uncirculated, mint state condition, it could be a whole different story. Coins that have been preserved in perfect shape, no fingerprints, no wear, no damage, are worth far more than their circulated cousins. And here's something else collectors love: proof coins. These are special edition coins made with extra care, featuring a shiny, mirror-like finish and incredibly sharp details. In 1967, the Mint produced a small number of these special sets known as special mint sets, and if you have one of those pennies in pristine condition, you might already be holding something rare. So, how much can a 1967 Lincoln penny actually be worth? Well, that depends on the factors we've talked about: error, rarity, condition, and demand. But in some extraordinary cases, when all of these stars align, when the coin has a rare mint error, is in perfect condition, and gets certified by a top grading company like PCGS or NGC, then the value can skyrocket. And that brings us to the moment you've all been waiting for. There has been at least one verified case of a 1967 Lincoln penny. Struck with a rare double die error and preserved in outstanding condition, being sold for as much as $49,000, yes, you heard that right. A single penny, worth $49,000. So before you walk past that old change jar, or ignore the coins at the bottom of your glove compartment, take a closer look. That 1967 penny might just be the lucky find that changes your fortune. Today, we're diving deep into the world of the 1966 Lincoln penny. This small copper coin might just be the hidden treasure in your coin jar, your glove box, or that old coffee tin sitting on a dusty shelf. It's amazing how much history can be packed into something so small. And the story of the 1966 penny? Well, it's full of surprises. Let's go back in time for a moment. America in 1966 was buzzing with energy and change. The Beatles were topping the charts, the space race was in full swing, and the Vietnam War was dominating headlines. But while all that was happening, the U.S. Mint was quietly producing billions of pennies, including one particular version that would later grab the attention of coin collectors everywhere. The Lincoln penny had already been in circulation for over half a century by 1966. Originally introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln, it was the first U.S. coin to feature a real person rather than a symbolic figure like Liberty. And Lincoln was the perfect choice, beloved, respected, and deeply rooted in American identity. The 1966 version carries the same familiar obverse, or front design, Lincoln's profile facing right, the word liberty on the left, in God we trust, above, and the date, 1966, to the right. What's missing, though, is something very unusual. No mint mark. If you've been collecting coins or even just looking closely at your change, you've probably noticed little letters like D, S, or P on coins. These are mint marks, and they tell you where the coin was made: Denver, San Francisco, or Philadelphia. But in 1965, 1966, and 1967, the U.S. Mint decided to eliminate mint marks completely. Why? Because coin hoarding had become a serious issue. People were pulling coins from circulation just because of their mint marks, causing a nationwide shortage. To discourage this, the Mint removed all mint marks during those 3 years. That means every penny from 1966 looks the same on the surface, but some are definitely not created equal. Let's talk about the reverse of the coin. You'll see the Lincoln Memorial, a design that replaced the original wheat ears in 1959. Look closely, and you can see a tiny image of the statue of Lincoln sitting between the columns of the memorial. It's a design rich in symbolism and one of the most detailed small engravings on any circulating coin. Now, here's where things get really exciting. While the Mint was trying to standardize coins during this period, errors still happened. And those errors? That's where collectors start to pay serious attention. Among 1966 pennies, there are known examples of double die errors, coins where the design elements are stamped slightly out of alignment, creating a doubled appearance. These can affect the date, the lettering, or even parts of Lincoln's portrait. Some are obvious, others are subtle, but to a trained eye, they're like hitting the jackpot. Other valuable errors from 1966 include off-center strikes, where the coin is struck incorrectly and part of the design is missing. Then there are clipped planchets, where a portion of the coin is literally missing due to a misfeed in the minting machine. Each of these errors tells a story of a moment when the minting process didn't go as planned, and turned out something truly rare. But there's one more thing that really drives up value, and that's condition. Coins are graded on a scale, and the highest grades, like MS-67 or higher, are reserved for coins in pristine, untouched condition. That means no scratches, no wear, no discoloration. These coins are typically found in rolls, sets, or collections where they were stored away and never spent. Combine that flawless condition with a rare error, and you've got something incredibly special. So, what's the bottom line? How much can a 1966 penny be worth? Well, while most of these coins are still only worth a few cents in average condition, exceptional examples, especially those with high grades and rare errors, can reach jaw-dropping values. And now, the moment you've been waiting for. There has been at least one verified 1966 Lincoln penny, featuring a dramatic double die error and preserved in immaculate condition. that has sold for as much as $50,000, yes, you heard that right. A single penny. Worth $50,000. So don't overlook those old coins. Dig through your drawers, check your coin jars, and start paying closer attention to those little copper discs. You never know when you might stumble upon a small fortune hiding in plain sight. Today, we're diving into a piece of American history that might just be hiding in your drawer, your wallet, or even your couch cushions. We're talking about the 1961 Lincoln penny, one of the most common-looking coins in America, but under the right circumstances, one of the most valuable. At first glance, it may not look like much. It's a small copper coin, aged by time, and often overlooked. But don't let its humble appearance fool you. This little cent carries more than 6 decades of history, mystery, and for a lucky few, an incredible reward. Let's take a step back and set the stage. The year was 1961. John F. Kennedy had just been inaugurated as the 35th President of the United States. The Cold War was heating up. The civil rights movement was gaining momentum. It was a time of transformation, tension, and innovation. And through it all, coins like the Lincoln penny were passing through the hands of millions of Americans, buying newspapers, paying for phone calls, and jingling in the pockets of a nation on the move. The Lincoln cent, of course, had already become an American icon by 1961. First minted in 1909 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, it was the first U.S. coin to feature a real person instead of Lady Liberty. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the portrait of Lincoln remains virtually unchanged to this day, timeless, bold, and instantly recognizable. On the obverse side of the 1961 penny, you'll see Lincoln's right-facing profile, with "In God We Trust" arched above his head. To the left is the word "Liberty," and to the right, the date, 1961. Below the date, depending on the mint it came from, you might see a tiny D mint mark for Denver, or no mark at all if it was minted in Philadelphia. Flip the coin over, and you'll find the classic wheat reverse is gone. By this time, the Lincoln Memorial had replaced the wheat stalks, a change introduced just 2 years earlier in 1959 to mark the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. The new reverse design, created by Frank Gasparo, shows the Lincoln Memorial in intricate detail. If you look closely, you can even make out the tiny statue of Lincoln sitting inside, an incredible feat of engraving precision on such a small surface. Now, here's where it gets interesting. While millions of 1961 pennies were minted, over 750 million in Philadelphia and more than 1.7 billion in Denver, not all of them were perfect. And those imperfections? That's what gets collectors talking. Every so often, a coin comes off the minting press with an error. Sometimes it's a double die, where the coin is stamped twice by accident, creating a ghost-like effect in the lettering or numbers. Other times it's a repunched mint mark, where the small d was struck more than once, slightly off position. There are also off-center strikes, die cracks, and even coins struck on the wrong metal planchet, each one a rare occurrence that turns an ordinary penny into something truly extraordinary. And it's not just about errors. The condition of the coin plays a massive role in determining its value. A heavily circulated 1961 penny might still be worth just 1 cent. But one that was never touched, never scratched, never tarnished, preserved in pristine, uncirculated, mint state condition? That's a whole different story. These near-perfect coins are graded by professional services like PCGS and NGC on a scale from 1 to 70. Anything above 65 is considered a gem, and those graded at 67 or higher are exceptionally rare. Add a rare mint error on top of that condition, and now you've got something that serious collectors will compete for at auction. But there's more. In addition to regular circulation coins, the U.S. Mint also produced proof sets for collectors in 1961. These proof pennies were struck with specially prepared dies on polished planchets, giving them a mirror-like shine and razor-sharp details. A 1961 proof penny with a rare error or flawless surface can attract significant interest from the numismatic community. So by now, you're probably wondering, how much can a single penny from 1961 actually be worth? Well, let's get to the part you've been waiting for. A rare 1961 Lincoln penny, featuring a dramatic double die error. Struck in exceptional condition and preserved without a single flaw, has been known to sell at auction for as much as $55,000, yes, you heard that correctly. A coin that once paid for a piece of candy, now worth $55,000. So if you've got a stash of old coins or a dusty coin folder tucked away somewhere, it might be time to take a closer look. Grab a magnifying glass, check those dates, and don't overlook the smallest details. That copper penny you've been ignoring for years might just be your ticket to something incredible. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this deep dive into coin history and hidden value, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and tap the bell so you're the first to know about the next rare find. Until then, keep searching, keep collecting, and remember, treasure doesn't always shine. Sometimes, it's copper.